Madam President, I rise to talk about coal miners and the promise, the obligation that the United States government has to coal miners on a range of issues, but especially when it comes to their pensions and their health care. These are very difficult jobs, and we know that the men and women, the women I should add, who descend in the depths and the darkness of these mines assume a substantial personal risk, and they work long hours. They stay in these jobs as long as they do, in part because they've been given a promise by our government, that when they retire, they will have a pension, and most importantly, they will also have good health insurance.
It's the only agreement where you have an executive order by the President committing the United States of America to keep its promise to our coal miners who did the job and made our country who we are today. And now here we are, about ready to default on that.
We used to have a covenant in this country that said, if you work hard, if you put in the hours, you contribute to your retirement and your health care, you'll be able to support yourself and your family. What you're doing is you're giving up in union negotiations. You're always giving up wages today to take care of yourself and your family in later years so the government or friends or other family members don't have to. What's more honorable than that?
UMWA 1974 pension fund that we're talking about here affects about 100,000 miners, close to 10,000 in Commonwealth of Virginia. They are looking to us on whether we're going to honor our commitment.
Most of the people that are still collecting these pensions are widows. A lot of the husbands have died from black lung. And these people are depending on a very meager amount to support any type of a quality of life.
So these aren't just numbers, these are people. These are families who've worked very hard for Pennsylvania and worked very hard for our country. They have children and they have grandchildren. The federal government made them a promise, and we must not rest until we fulfill that promise.
You just don't turn your backs on workers and retirees in these struggling communities, in these struggling mining towns this afternoon, just because the times are tough. These workers have earned their pensions. They have earned their health care benefits. But the fact is, if the Congress does not act soon, all of this could be taken away.
If we don't do our job, these communities that have been hard hit all throughout Appalachia, if these widows don't get the health care and their pensions, the communities that have already been devastated will be further devastated.
The plans were almost completely funded before the financial collapse in 2008, but the industry and its pension funds were devastated by the recession. The plan has too few assets, too few employers, and too few union workers now paying in. If Congress fails to act, thousands of retired miners would lose their health care this year, and the entire plan could fail as early as next year.
The Miners Protection Act, which Senator Manchin and I have introduced along with a bipartisan coalition of senators, allows excess amounts from the Abandoned Mine Lands Fund to be used to preserve both coal miner pensions and retiree health care as needed.
Fixing the mine workers' pension plan is a critical component of any solution for the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation insurance program.
There is a solution and there is funding available for this Minor Pension Act. It is critically important that we act. It is critically important morally, economically, and quite honestly, I'd ask any of my colleagues to go and speak to any of these widows and explain why we wouldn't keep our end of the bargain come the end of this year, when if we don't act, these health care benefits will disappear.
When is this going to get done? When is the Congress, and particularly the Senate, going to step up and meet the needs that these workers richly deserve to have addressed?
It's up to us to provide, to make sure those workers who have earned these pensions, who have earned this health care for themselves and in far too many cases for their widows, to step up and do the right thing.
They kept their promise to us, Madam President, and now it is time for us to keep our promise to them. we need to honor the commitment. We need to honor the executive order signed by the United States of America to make sure they get their pension and make sure they get their health care.